The First World War was a global war that lasted from 1914 to 1918. It was one of the deadliest conflicts in history, with an estimated 16 million people being killed. The war was fought between two opposing sides. The Triple Entente, also known as the Allies, consisted of France, Russia, and Great Britain. This event triggered a diplomatic crisis as Austro-Hungary prepared for intervention. New weapons such as machine guns, poison gas, and tanks were deployed, causing immense suffering. Some of the things discussed in this video may be offensive or disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. The war's impact extended beyond the battlefield, affecting economies, societies, and even shaping future conflicts. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand provided the spark that ignited this powder keg. Soon, other European powers were drawn into the conflict. Russia mobilized its troops to defend Serbia, while France and Great Britain came to Russia's support. As the Austrians prepared for intervention in Serbia, the stage was set for a conflict that would engulf the continent and change the course of history forever. But there's more to the story than meets the eye. As the continent braced for war, a complex web of alliances and rivalries was about to be put to the test. On June 28, 1914, Ferdinand, along with his wife Sophie, was visiting Sarajevo when a Serbian nationalist, Gavrilo Princip, approached their car and fired multiple shots, killing both Ferdinand and his wife. The architects of the war, driven by their own selfish interests, unleashed a wave of violence and destruction upon the world. Civilians were caught in the crossfire, enduring the horrors of aerial bombing, artillery bombardments, and the deliberate targeting of civilian infrastructure such as hospitals and schools. The use of chemical weapons, including poison gas, caused horrific injuries and long-term health consequences for those exposed. Uncover the web of deceit and betrayal that led to the outbreak of war and explore the motivations of the elite few who orchestrated it all. Civilians were also subjected to psychological warfare, propaganda and misinformation campaigns aimed at instilling fear, hatred, and suspicion among the civilian population. The conflict had taken a staggering toll on all sides, with millions of lives lost and entire nations devastated. But as the guns fell silent, questions remained about the true victors and vanquished of this global conflict. Cultural heritage sites, including historical monuments, museums, and libraries, were deliberately targeted and destroyed, erasing invaluable historical treasures and hindering efforts to preserve cultural diversity. This crushing defeat left a deep sense of bitterness and resentment that would later contribute to the rise of extremist ideologies. The war's impact extended far beyond the battlefields, leaving an indelible mark on global politics, economies, and societies. The war's impact on healthcare systems and the movement of troops and civilians contributed to the spread of infectious diseases, reminding us of the far-reaching consequences of war. The collapse of empires, the rise of new ideologies, and the redrawing of borders reshaped the world as we knew it. The war also had profound social and cultural repercussions, challenging traditional values and beliefs and giving rise to new artistic and intellectual movements. Austria-Hungary, once a formidable empire, was dissolved, giving way to smaller successor states. Its collapse had profound implications for the balance of power in Europe and set the stage for future conflicts, but also the profound and lasting impacts it had on our world. The war's legacy continues to resonate today, shaping international relations, influencing political ideologies, and serving as a reminder of the importance of seeking peaceful resolutions to conflict. While the official narrative proclaimed the Allies as the victors, a closer examination reveals a more nuanced and controversial truth. The United States, although not directly involved in the conflict, emerged as a significant player on the world stage. Its economic and industrial power grew substantially during the war, positioning it as a major force in international affairs. Japan also emerged as a victor, expanding its territorial holdings in the Pacific and securing vital resources, contributing to its rise as a major power in Asia. However, beneath the surface of this seemingly decisive outcome, a different narrative emerges, one that challenges conventional historical narratives and reveals the hidden agendas of the architects of the war. The Treaty of Versailles, which officially ended the war in 19, imposed harsh reparations on Germany, placing the blame for the conflict solely on its shoulders. This heavy-handed approach failed to acknowledge the complex web of alliances and rivalries that had contributed to the outbreak of war and left a legacy of resentment and instability in its wake. The architects of the war sought to demoralize and subdue civilian populations, employing scorched earth tactics that involved the systematic burning and destruction of villages, farms, and civilian homes. This deliberate targeting of civilian life stands as a testament to the brutality and callousness of those who orchestrated the conflict. Millions of lives were lost, economies were shattered, and societies were torn apart. They employed sophisticated propaganda techniques, including the use of mass media, to sway public perception and garner support for their agendas. By controlling the flow of information, they painted a distorted picture of the war, demonizing opponents and glorifying their own actions. The architects of the war also exploited nationalistic sentiments, inciting feelings of patriotism and loyalty to one's country to rally public support for the conflict. They fanned the flames of nationalism, portraying the war as a struggle for national supremacy and mobilizing citizens to participate in the war effort. Additionally, they employed a network of spies and informants to gather intelligence and spread disinformation, creating an atmosphere of secrecy and paranoia by keeping citizens in the dark and fueling their fears. The architects of the war maintained public support and minimized dissent. The true cost of the war remains a haunting reminder of the darkness that can prevail in times of conflict. Soon, the other European powers were drawn into the conflict, each taking sides and making alliances. By August, the continent was at war. The identities of the architects of the war are often debated and shrouded in mystery, with some believing they belonged to powerful families and secret societies. The Rothschild family, known for their vast wealth and influence over European economies, are often implicated as key players. Allegedly, they orchestrated the war's outbreak to benefit from the ensuing chaos and secure their financial dominance. The Vatican, too, is believed to have had a hand in the conflict, aiming to expand its power and influence in Europe. Their machinations are said to have included manipulating religious sentiments and inciting anti-Semitism, which contributed to the war's outbreak. Additionally, the mysterious Freemasons are believed to have played a role, with some claiming that the organization's secret agenda included controlling world events and manipulating governments. Their involvement is said to have been instrumental in driving the conflict towards the desired outcome. The architects of the war were a group of influential figures who are believed to have masterminded the conflict to serve their own nefarious purposes. Here are said to have profited immensely from the war, amassing a fortune through the sale of war bonds and the manipulation of financial markets. Another prominent figure was Jacob Schiff, a banker who played a crucial role in financing the Allied war effort. His financial contributions are believed to have been motivated by his desire to secure a dominant position in the post-war world order. Their identities shrouded in secrecy and their motives concealed behind a facade of patriotism and duty. They manipulated events, instigated diplomatic crises, and exploited nationalistic sentiments to steer the world into a catastrophic war. The Triple Alliance, also known as the Central Powers, consisted of Germany. But what if I told you that there was another side in the war? A secret cabal of elite world leaders who orchestrated the entire conflict to further their own interests and seize control of the globe. These men would become known as the architects of the First World War. The war began in Europe when Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire, was assassinated by a Serbian nationalist in Sarajevo. As the fighting began, it quickly became clear that this would not be like any war that had come before. Trench warfare became widespread, leading to horrific casualties. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel where we bring you the craziest and weirdest facts from human history. Today we will explore the hidden truth behind the First World War and reveal the sinister role played by the architects of the war. So buckle up and prepare to uncover the shocking conspiracy that led to one of the most devastating conflicts in history. In the years leading up to the war, a sense of growing nationalism and imperialism among European powers had led to increased tensions. Austro-Hungary, supported by Germany, saw this as an opportunity to assert its dominance in the region and began making preparations for intervention. With the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, Europe was on the brink of war. What if I told you that the war was orchestrated by a secret cabal of elite world leaders who pulled the strings from behind the scenes to further their own interests and seize control of the globe? One of the key players in this sinister plot was Lord Rothschild, a member of the influential banking family. But who were these mysterious individuals and what drove them to orchestrate such a devastating conflict? Now let's delve into the darker aspects of the war and the atrocities committed during this brutal conflict. The architects of the war are believed to have deliberately targeted civilians and employing tactics designed to inflict maximum suffering and undermine public morale. But how did the architects of the war manipulate public opinion and shape the narrative surrounding the conflict? To learn more about the architects of the war and their sinister plot, join me on a journey through the hidden archives and secret documents that reveal the shocking truth behind the conflict. After 4 long years of brutal fighting, the First World War finally came to an end with the signing of the Armistice of November 11, 1918. According to official accounts, the Allied forces emerged victorious, with France, Russia, and Great Britain triumphing over the Central Powers, which included Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. While the armistice brought an end to the hostilities, it did little to address the underlying issues that had plunged the world into war in the first place. So who were the real winners and losers of the First World War? On the other side of the spectrum, Germany suffered tremendously, enduring territorial losses, severe economic sanctions, and the humiliation of accepting sole responsibility for the war. But beyond the shifting power dynamics, what were the long-lasting impacts of the First World War on the world? Moreover, the aftermath of the First World War witnessed the emergence of new diseases and health crises, highlighting the interconnectedness of global health and conflict. As we reflect on the centenary of the First World War, it is essential to remember not only the immense human cost,